So, hey, stop me if you've heard this one. My mate has just seen the Chernobyl documentary. He actually grew up in Ukraine in the 1980s and was able to count at least 8 historical inaccuracies on one hand.
You picked that for me because you knew I was coming.
Yeah, I was going to say Russian. And the funny thing is, it took you a second to click. I saw that.
Yeah, I was listening and I was like, "Where's the dad joke?"
I
There we
saw
go.
the loading
You
bar
you
on
knew
his
your
face.
audience. You said, "Ooh, Dan's gonna come here." Chernobyl joke, low hanging fruit. There we go.
Hello, Arachnids. Hello, Arachnids. This is your host, D, Dr. D, reaching out through the poorly supervised Spanish Main. Today, I am joined by the newest member of the crew, Dan, from the famous or infamous, depending on your point of view, from Blood and Pigment. How's it going, brother?
It is indeed going. I'm a newly married Dan. Got married
That's
on
true.
Halloween, so very, very happy living the married life.
Congratulations. It's very fitting of you to be
Thank
married
you.
on Halloween.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the only date we both remember.
That's fair. So today on Arachne, we're going to be talking about community building for specifically Blood and whatever games in general, whatever you want to call the Firelock games. But this will apply to pretty much any game in the future. So I always like to do these with different people because everybody's always got a different kind of look at it, and I find that that's pretty helpful for some people. So here we go again on that. But first, we got to talk about business. I want to thank the patrons today that really just keep this shindig going. I really do appreciate it. Again, I have not been able to get an updated list because Tim is impossible to track down and just give me the stupid list. So if you have been contributing to it, I really, really do appreciate it. I have not seen your name. And if you're not on this list anymore, I still appreciate everything you did. And I might just leave you on the list because I really appreciate anybody to help support us. But today I would like to thank Cyril S., Derek S., Quinn B., Nick B., and Aleph did not. Aleph is the way. I still haven't corrected that on this.
This is the way.
This is the way. And so thank you very much for doing that. And that really does help the show keep going because it helps us afford all the stupid pieces of electronic that you need for this stuff. I'm sure Dan can attribute to that. He's nodding. He's giving the big nod symbol there. And of course, Arachne is part of the Professional Casual Network. If you'd like to support the network, please sign up for our Patreon at streamlabs.com or at patreon.com or buy some hot swag at streamlabs.com, Professional Casual Network 1. I actually did finally start uploading the new art and all that. I have to find somebody who can do some word work on the Raise the Black art so that we can have like words on it. And after that, I'm going to upload that. I've just been kind of slow on it. Things have been weird. And so that is coming. So if you want to help support the show, buying those shirts does actually help us directly. We do get the money from that to help us, I don't know, do more model related stuff. So just keep that in mind. Personally, I'm sponsored by Monument Hobbies. They are the paints that I use the most. You can use the code Professional Casual at checkout to get yourself a swanky discount. And if you want to watch me use those paints, I've actually been painting the stuff from the new Kickstarter for not Pirate I Will Be, it's the other one. Rise of the Buccaneer, Jamaica. I've been painting some of the new English stuff. Some of the models are incredible. Big fan of them. We've been painting the Freebooters. The Forlorn Hope might be coming up next. If not, it's going to be the new Maroons, which are the escaped slaves that were on. Escaped slaves for Spain and England and Jamaica and many other places. But if you want to see us paint those, they look gorgeous. Actually, huge fan of the models. The new Maroons are really cool looking. I say new Maroons like there's old Maroons. There are no. These are the first. These are the first
really
Maroons.
Good at kit bashing. There was old Maroons.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. And so, if you want to see me paint those, come to the Twitch at Professional Casual Network, and we usually stream on Sundays, Mondays, and Thursdays around 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. We're usually having a good time making fun of funny historical things like Woodrow Wilson, or lately we've been making fun of. We were making fun of Axl Rose there for a while. A lot of good stuff. Yeah, very, very varied things that we talk about. And of course, Baron of Dice makes some of the coolest dice in the biz. Use the code Arachne to get yourself 5% discount. And of course, you can get the Blood and Plunder and Oaken Iron dice from his website as well. They're fantastic. I really like the weight of them, the way they click.
I endorse those dice, by the way. I love my Baron of Dice dice. I love them so much.
The only thing I was disappointed, I just recently started playing France, and the only thing I'm disappointed in is that the French dice are white and not blue, but obviously the French Revolution hasn't happened yet, so that's the color of their flag, I don't know. I just really want a dark blue D10. I don't know what it is. I just love that color for that game. I don't know what it is. Because it's the water, the waves, so I don't know. It's just one of those things. Anyway, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about Dan. So Dan, welcome to the ship. It's going to be like the Adventure Galley. This leaky piece of crap is going to keep going, and we're going to go down to the West Indies, and we're going to, I don't know, like beat up some pilgrim fleet stuff, I guess, and potentially get hanged
Please
for
tell me
piracy.
you brought the oranges. You do not want to see me this dirty.
Just start bleeding from the mouth. Like, oh my god, are you
Bleeding
okay?
from the everything.
So, of course, whenever we have a guest on here, we like to talk about the nerd origin story because I find that the story behind the man is as interesting as the man, I guess. So, Dan, welcome to the crew, and I have to say, what is your nerd origin story go?
So if it is to be believed, it was in December of '91 in a drive-in. That's it.
I wasn't born
That's
yet
all
for
I know.
the. Oh, I guess you weren't born yet either.
Yeah, technically no.
Interesting.
8 months later, though. Hello.
Oh my god, it's a Dan.
It's a lizard. Let's put it back.
That would be. I shudder to feel. I shudder to hear whoever has to deal with that. The repercussions of that.
I was 1 month early because I've been a pain in the ass since the beginning. So that's how it be.
Well, you know what? Eventually, when you and your wife, if you have kids, I hope you don't have to deal with that. I hope everything's nice and smooth.
More than likely not.
That's good. So you obviously were born. You were born a man. Oh my god.
Yes.
And then how did you get involved in nerd related stuff?
So it's clear I've always had a little touchletism. I always hyperfixated on things as a kid. Like that was clear from the beginning. Whatever I got into, it was never a pinky toe. It was I really little Elmo meme where you just put this whole thing in the flour. Yeah, that was me from a very young age. It was I like this thing. I really like this thing.
It is now my life.
So I really got into pirates when the first Pirates of the Caribbean came out. I'm sure a lot of people who are younger, older, probably sympathize with that. Really cool. My first real exposure, got into the history, but I realized that a lot of that history nowadays is Charles Johnson, which is not super historical, but that's what we went with. Went to Renaissance fairs, pirate fairs. That's where I kind of got my start. And then I want to say, because I was young, maybe in high school, junior high, my dad bought us the Mega Bloks ship. So I do have one. So for those who don't know, this was the Mega Bloks offering. So it looks like a ship, and what we would do is there were cannons that would go on here. That's it. You loaded them, you push a button, it goes pew. We would put down a big blue blanket. My brother had the Flying Dutchman, which he has repurchased at this point. I had the Black Pearl, which I repurchased for a centerpiece at a wedding table. And we would shoot at each other with the cannons. And then when we wanted to get close, we were already rolling dice. So we would get close, we would roll to see who threw the grapples and bring the ships together. And then we already had it. We didn't even know what a war game was. We were like, okay, a gold sword rolls 2 dice, and we were looking for 6s to kill. So, and it was basically the color of the weapon determined how good it was. Pistols were only good. We used a little Lego studs for rangefinders. So pistols had like a 5 to 6 stud range. Like we already had a whole game boiled down before we even knew what a war game was.
So you made proto Blood and Plunder from.
I will not say that because then Mike Tunez is probably going to kick down my door with a bat and go, absolutely not.
The old IP infringement. How dare you?
Exactly. And then after he's and Dizzy's going to come out and be like, hello, sir. You just said all of our IP. We're gonna need some of that.
Those are the people who really have money is middle schoolers. They're the ones that are just rolling in dough, tackling with the lawyers. I'm sure they'll.
That's what I was being shameful in middle school instead of investing in property so I could own a house. I was playing with Mega Bloks.
Yeah,
foolish me,
lazy sir, lazy. And so you eventually get into actual wargaming, I imagine.
So yes, so it was at I think it was the Irvine Spectrum of all places. If I'm from California. So being from California, you hopefully know where that is. If it's still there, I have no idea. But we went to a Warhammer store, and again, we didn't know what a war game was. We just saw miniatures on the table, and this guy was like, "Oh, cool! Check this out. You can make your army, paint them however you want, sit them down with each other, and have them fight." And we're like, "Oh, cool!" We look at the price tag and go, "Oh, that's
not cool."
So then a few years later, I got into Warhammer 40K. This is probably high school at this point. This is probably junior, senior year of high school, I think. Really got into 40K, went the whole route. I played Imperial Guard, and again, I've always been into history, so I painted my Imperial Guard like Russians, because that's what I wanted to play. I ran Hammer and Anvil, where it was at that point in time, you run blobs of infantry with tank support.
Yep.
And that's what I ran. We didn't do anything competitively. We just went to just shoot each other and have a good time. Every Friday we would have what we called a nerd night, where we had a massive 6x8 table, and we would get a bunch of Little Caesars pizzas, a bunch of cheap dollar store Cokes, and then just set up our guys. Our favorite thing to do, my friend Gabby had like 8,000 points of orcs. So what we would do is we would put him at the long end, and then I would sit at the other end, and I'd be like, all right, here's everything I have in my guard, which is nowhere near what he had for his. And I said, I'm just going to shoot at you until you overwhelm me. Every time a squad dies, respawn at the end of the table and give it 2 free move actions. And we would do that for hours. And it was so much fun just to be shooting, knowing that the orcs are going to get to you at some point, but learning and saying, all right, how long can I actually last? So that's kind of where that started.
And that seems like an early indication for narrative gaming, in my opinion. You're more attracted to that concept as opposed to the win at all cost type mentality.
Yes.
I gotta say, so that makes me think. I remember growing up once. I grew up once. I was also once a children. It was crazy. Yeah, no. And I just think about some of the stuff that we did, and I think about doing it now as a infantile adult. And like you think about, yeah, me and my buddies, we used to go to a single place or one of our houses, and we used to just literally do nothing of any kind of importance for 10 hours. And there was no guilt. There was no bad feelings about like not getting work done or whatever. You didn't have people like texting you, asking where you were. I just think back on those days and I'm just like, man, it's just, what does it take to get back to doing something like that? That's just incredible stuff. I don't know. That makes like that forges the friendships that you'd never like lose. It's just crazy. I miss those days sometimes, not all the time. So I actually like getting a paycheck every once in a while. That is nice.
Right. Yeah. Paychecks are nice.
So obviously, if you have a narrative gaming stint, I assume this pushed you towards more of like a historical thing. I notice like historical games tend to be more, I say narrative based.
Yeah, so I don't want to shit on other games. I try to pull myself back from that, but my first experience with the historical was Flames of War because I was super into World War II, like I'm sure like every white dude was at some point in time. So I said, that is okay. I will go. I went and got my stuff. I just painted them up. I looked up kind of a basic uniform, painted them all, got super excited, showed up to play, and everybody there was probably 50, 60 years old. And I was like, I didn't have a problem. Like, oh, that's cool. Set my stuff down on the table. They walk over and go, what regiment is that? I said, I don't know.
Oh.
I just painted it. They said, well, if that's not a regiment, you can't play here. You got to paint it up like a regiment. So at that point, I was like, okay,
that's rough.
Here is my stuff. I'm going to go back to 40K. Y'all have fun with this. Paint it however you want. That was my first exposure ever. And that was before I left California. Then 2014, I left California, moved here to Texas. Just really hard to live in California. I think that's safe to say. It was very expensive. And being a college kid, really hard to live outside of your parents' house in California. That was in 2014. So moved out here to Texas, still living at home with my folks, but it was a much better prospect to eventually move out on my own.
Sure.
So I had all my Warhammer stuff, but there wasn't a place for me to play, so it kind of just sat, and I kind of painted some stuff, and it was basically me and my brother Tyler playing this at any given time at some point. Then come probably 2016-ish, I had been done with Warhammer. I said, I'm tired of, and again, I don't think it's controversial to say I was tired of getting rulebook updates I didn't ask for. I was tired of having to get a new rulebook or new codex for my specific army, and then models that I liked basically getting shelved to push new stuff out. I didn't like it, and I was like, because I want to play how I want to play, and now I'm being prevented like that because I want to play with the old stuff. I'm just going to get my ass kicked 3 ways to Sunday, and while it's not all about winning, I would like to win a few games.
Yeah. The way I always look at it is I don't necessarily need to win, but I at least want to feel like I played a game.
Exactly.
That's all I care about.
So then I discovered Blood and Plunder probably late 2016 through the Under the Crossbones podcast. I heard Mike Tunes talking about a game, and I was like, oh, this is like a board game? And he said, no, this is, a miniatures game. I went, it is a miniatures game with pirates and ships. I got home, I found the website, I Googled, and I immediately was like, this is straight up my alley. 28 millimeter ships, great. These are still metals at the time. There are no plastic. So it's like metal minis, but cool. And I saw that it was historical, but it was, when I pitch Blood and Plunder now, I say it is the least old white dude historical you will ever run into.
Yes.
Because it is designed to where if you just want to, if you want to do beer and pretzels with Blood and Plunder, you can do beer and pretzels and it'll go just fine. If you want to elevate your gameplay and really get crunchy with it, and have you and your friends build the nastiest, sweatiest list that you want and then blow each other up, you can also do that. There is no There's no rule, because I felt like every time when I was playing 40K, if I played at the store, I was always fighting somebody's tournament list. And when you don't build a tournament list, they're just gonna, say, all right, so you don't even get a turn 2. Sorry.
Yeah, that's happened to me a few times.
Yeah.
Especially going up against guard. I remember the old leaf blower lists. It's like,
Mhm.
oh my god, dude, this is awful. But yeah, so that's an interesting thing. I didn't even know this podcast existed. I'm gonna have to subscribe to this. Are they still going?
I
The
am not sure. I only refound them because I had to, when we were talking about the anniversary of Blood and Plunder over in the Pigment podcast. We did a video with Mike. I had to go and find. I was like, I know I found it from a podcast. Which one was it? And I took an hour of autistic moving and typing to try and finding it. And there we go.
the last
Found
episode
it.
was 2019.
Oof.
So I guess they are not still going. But that's interesting.
Oof.
Yeah, I'll have to actually listen to this. This is not a gaming podcast from what I can see. I think it's
Yeah.
literally just a bunch of just that era, like colonial era type topics. That's pretty interesting. Huh? Interesting. I'll have to listen to that. Anyway, so yeah, okay, and yeah, here comes the relations. I did play a lot of Flames of War. I know exactly what you mean with the regiment thing. I never got told that I wasn't allowed to play. I guess maybe my crowd was a little bit nicer, but I'm assuming you played Russians. You didn't say who, but I can only guess.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
how
my
did I
go-to
know?
faction anywhere.
And
I've always
so,
had an interest in Russian history, for just to put the asterisk there, because I know there's shit going on in Ukraine and everywhere.
sure.
I'm a fan of Russian history. My heritage is from both Russia and Ukraine, so that is just something that I am into. So I don't want to see anybody be like, he's a Russian. No, I just like the history, bro. I'm just here to have a good time and relax. I
So
have a
this,
freaking Bardisha in my corner. Like that should say enough.
so in this way, it reminds me that it's okay to like things that are maybe not. So I explain this in a variety of ways, but it's okay to sometimes like things that are not good. Like there. I listen to some band. Not to say that Russia's not good, but like there are going to always be good and bad things involved with like anything that you do, right? Other than
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers, he's only good. But you think about like even America. Like I love America. I think the United States is the bomb.com. But just to say that we haven't made mistakes in the past, like I mean, yeah, it's important to realize that there's some good and there's some bad involved with America. You know, you figure all the way up to the Civil War, we were doing something pretty unspeakable if we look at it from pretty much at any point. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody was complaining about it almost the entire time. But you figure it's okay to look back at history and enjoy the good parts, look at the bad parts and be like, okay, this is what we can learn from this. And also be like, I just kind of enjoy people watching on a like maybe not cosmic, but a like worldwide level.
Yeah.
You're like, I like the big strokes of some of the things that are happening. Like I think that King John in the Magna Carta era of the English, like I guess not really Civil War, but like the whole Magna Carta thing, and I think that's super interesting. Does everybody? Not really, but you figure King John got the Magna Carta and immediately tried to break it by by invading one of the dukes or something. I forget the exact story, but you look at that kind of stuff and it's like, okay, people go into these things with the best intentions. It doesn't always end well. But in my opinion, it's very rare for somebody to wake up at any point in their entire life and be like, man, I can't wait for everybody to hate me. Because there's like one of those like philosophical concepts of like, if somebody does something evil, you should assume ignorance and not maliciousness. I forget the name. It's like
I've never
Hookham's
heard that.
razor.
That's interesting.
But that's what I'm saying. It's just like the Russians have been plagued with controversy and stuff ever since probably like since the era of like Muscovy, right? It's just like something that happened.
Since some Vikings came down and got
Exactly.
busy with some of the local Slavic peoples, and then you had Kiev and Rus. I've had to navigate that whole thing because Belarus, Russia, and Ukraine all have claims to that area of the cradle where what we call the modern day Slavic nations come from. And I've always said I don't weigh in either way. I can see everybody's perspective. I'm just here to talk about cool shit, man.
Exactly.
That's all I want to do.
It's okay to look back on these. Like if you think about what a pirate really is, a pirate's literally a criminal who runs around and steals people's stuff. But we like them. It's okay to like these things because you like the romanticness of like the story of it or whatever.
And
I'm
then
not.
when you grow up, become a real Dan, then you realize the 17th century pirates are way better, and you should read more about those anyway.
Exactly. So listen, I played a lot of Sid Meier's Pirates. I played a lot. I'm telling you, I played a lot of Sid Meier's Pirates. And that game's got a very cheerful disposition where you're just like la la la, I'm just killing and
We're
stealing
gonna
stuff and
sword
blah blah
fight, and
blah.
oh, I just knock you off your
Oh,
ship. That's cool. I didn't back you into a corner, stab you 18 times,
hmm.
strip you naked, and throw you off the ship and steal all your shit.
Yep,
No,
that's
we
fine.
just knocked you into the water and you surrendered. It's okay.
Pirates are bad people. I hate to tell you, they are in fact bad people that broke the law, but we still like them, and that's okay. You can apply that to a lot of things in history, and I think that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't agree, I'm sorry. We can agree to disagree. I still like you, I guess. There you go. So anyway, that was a very much an aside. So obviously, you've discovered them 2016, which at this point, man, that's like 20 years ago. I'm just kidding.
Why did you have to
like
say
9.
that? Look, this is a
It's only like
gray
9.
here that you just put there.
Kara says she's very excited for me to start getting the white in my my facial hair. You know, the salt and pepper thing.
Oh, Anne is already. I just did this morning because I now have a clipper, and I was like, "Oh, I can experiment again." And I walked out doing,
Don't touch.
and I went, "Okay,
No,
got it."
no touch. But yeah, so you are famous, or again infamous, depending on your point of view. You're a famous Dutch player for the Firelock games. So go ahead and go into that. So like you find Firelock games. Tell us a story. No
So
Russians and Blood and
I
Plunder.
know
For
that damn it. Um, so I actually started playing with the Dutch. I started with Dutch and Brother on the Coast, which are still my two favorite things I like to play nowadays. Came into it was right after No Peace Beyond the Line had been funded, but hadn't been delivered yet. So it was right in that weird middle area. But it was all on the Force Builder. So I was able to just kind of go in and do that. I got a PDF rule book, and read through all of it, went and figured out how to play, and that's when I started, which we'll get into. I'm sure in community building, because I wanted to create a community with guys to play this game.
right.
But that's kind of where I started. I started off at, I think it's I want to say it's Geeks and Games, but that might not be it. It's in Burleson. It's about probably 45 minutes away from where, actually no, probably about an hour now where I'm now. But I would go every Saturday. It was me and one other guy. Can't remember his name. I'm sorry if you see this. I'm terrible with names. I'm good with faces, terrible with names. And we played a couple times, and then I started moving to stores closer to me, and then I eventually built up a community that I still have. We made it through COVID, which is always a good sticking point. Made it through the pandemic, and I've been playing ever since then. Joe brought me onto the blog around 2019 when I wrote the article for the original Pirates, the 17th century Pirates. I guess he was so impressed at my writing style and colorful language that he said, "Hey, you want to be part of the blog?" And I was like, "Really? That sounds cool." And then he's been stuck with me ever since.
And you got press gang from the sounds of it.
He asked. It was not quite at sword point. He asked formally, and I was like, "Yeah, that sounds cool." And then I've wrote all the Dutch articles that are on there. I wrote them, every single one of them. And when we get new Dutch stuff eventually, I will also more than likely write those.
Because I don't think in Rise of the Buccaneer Jamaica they said that there's going to be some Dutch stuff in it. But you might know more than me, obviously. But I don't think there's actually a new
I
force.
don't know how much I'm allowed to reveal, but there was some friction behind the scenes because me and Jason Klotz, we were pushing for something.
Yeah.
And it was just history, stuff like that, trying to get it in there. But I know there is a Dutch commander, and there is a faction that will more than likely be under English, because Mike explained how they do the factions for nations if you got in trouble, what ambassador would get bitched at. And in this case, these Dutch sailors, if they took something, the English ambassador would be bitched at. So they're going to be under an English flag, kind of like the Austin Privateers for Spanish, where it's a bunch of Dutch guys, but they run Spanish flag. That's what it's kind of going to be. I can't say more than that because I haven't been given again, Mike hasn't given me a clean slate to do that yet. So that's all I can say. But I know we got some changes coming to cappers, it sounds like. We were pushing for that because we really wanted them, because at this point in time of this recording, the European sailor is just better if you want a musket unit. So I was pushing, and a lot of grinding and friction behind the scenes. I'm saying they got able seamen and Biscaynos and Marin's Basque. I know we got the Plogue, but they can't kit out as cool. We need something. And
that is the one downside of the Anthropologues. You just cannot give them a musket.
Yeah,
I love them in all ways.
I think that's going to be in there too. I think they're going to give them that option.
That's cool. And so obviously, I think just people knowing.
If it doesn't, don't come to my house.
Right? Yeah. I think most people are just going to be happy to know that there might be some wiggle in the Dutch roster, just to see anything.
Yes, and they're awesome. After there's a lot of argument behind the scenes, but I went and I found everything, and I was like, all right, that all looks cool. As a Dutch player, I would play this, and that was my Check mark.
I will say that, obviously the Rise of the Buccaneer Jamaica book is probably a very focused point in history. But if it wasn't for the Dutch, the English wouldn't be there anyway, for the most part. Just because the English see the Dutch raiding the Spanish and they're like, wow, it looks like there's a lot of money over there. We should go over there and be a general nuisance. And a nuisance they sure did. And then, because you figure the Western plan was what Cromwell's idea, that he was going to, like, essentially, it's like America's plan or whatever.
I read this cover to cover because I was told it's called the Dutch,
Dutch
moment.
moment. Yep.
Because I was told, everybody saw in the Firelog chat, if you want more Dutch stuff, write an expansion. So I said, okay, I'll get books.
So when EU5 came out, very first nation I started playing was Holland, and I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I can make the Dutch Empire. What am I going to say? It's weird because in that game you go straight from Holland to the Netherlands. You kind of skip the Dutch part, even though, you know what I mean. Like, you don't make the Dutch Republic. You just kind of go straight into the Netherlands kingdom concept. It's kind of weird, but you kind of skip that whole part of it, which is weird. But obviously France kicks the crap out of you all the time because France big, France very big. Dutch, not big.
Is it fun to see as an American? Because, again, growing up, all we heard was French for cheese eating surrender monkeys.
No.
And then
no.
getting into this game, and again, I made jokes. Small story. So we would tell these World War II jokes to each other all the time. My poor mother goes into a doctor's appointment to go and get something done on her back. And he's a French doctor. She doesn't know. And he's telling her, this device we're going to put in your back, help you out. It's actually made in France. And this woman says with no awareness, well, I won't hold that against it.
Wow.
She came home and said, see what you guys made me do. We were dying.
So obviously Blood and Plunder, the best game ever made, easily. Obviously no arguments there. And
I'll die on that hill.
I'm these days I definitely will die on that hill myself. And so Blood and Plunder has a lot of advantages, right? It's a great game. I think a lot of times when people play it, they aren't quite sure what to expect because, as we were talking, most historical games are like 500-year-old men with glass eyes who, need somebody who like to bend over for them to move pieces just because they have too much arthritis.
Talking about you, Martin.
And people with
older than me,
people with big long beards that are turning white. That's something that I didn't know. Even Mike's got that going on. He's got the whole salt and pepper thing going on.
I will not acknowledge that, Mike, our Lord and Savior, Almighty Giver of Plunder.
I've been told that if you go into a mirror and say Spanish 3 times, he does appear, and he teaches you.
I assume he's got a lance. He goes, Lancero! And he just goes, oh!
His offensive strikes you before you ever have a chance to do anything about it. And so, obviously, Blood and Plunder is a really great game. What advantages do you feel Blood and Plunder has for community building? Like if you wanted to get it started at your local store.
So one, spectacle. A miniatures game has to look good. It doesn't matter how amazing your rule set is if your minis look like crap. And luckily we're in this new day and age where we have plastics and resins. I'm not going to say their metals looked bad. Their metals were good. Exactly what a metal miniature looked at the time. But especially nowadays, their resin minis kick a lot of ass. They are amazing. I was very pro plastic. I sold most of my metal miniatures to buy more plastic because I wanted plastic. I like the detail. It's easier for me to deal with. Mm-hmm. And when I was skeptical about the resin, but since then I have bought more resin minis more than I ever should have.
Yeah.
Because they just look so crisp. The fact that you can see the hammer and the frizzen on the flintlock is just love it.
I will say I never want to talk about something I don't truly understand. So I went to a store down in New Bedford, down in the south. I forget the name of the store. I'm so sorry, but it's like in a mall. We went there for a Blood and Plunder event. Names totally escaped me. But if you're in the New Bedford area, look it up. There's a game store down there. I think there might only be one, but they had old metal Blood and Plunder stuff, and I was like, let me buy this. It was funny enough. It was capers. I guess that's why they were there.
Capers that were metal.
So,
oh my god!
I wanted to try and paint them because I was like, if I ever talk about the quality of the models, I want to make sure I'm coming at it from a point of like knowledge. And so I bought them, and I got to say, their old metals were great. I'm a huge metal guy. I appreciated that they were just like molded onto the base. That was something that I actually did. I was not expecting, but I was like, oh, actually, that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I, honest to goodness, can say their metals are so thirsty. Their metals absorbed paint like no tomorrow. I don't know how to describe it, but it took way longer to paint them than it should have because their metal just like you just slap paint on it and it just eats it. and it's not a bad thing because it makes it so it chips less. I've noticed.
Mhm.
I haven't had any metal chips with their models. I treat my stuff pretty well, but yeah, their old metals really really good. But I agree, their resin stuff, especially the new stuff, because actually, funnily enough, the same day I'm interviewing you, I'm interviewing the model designers for Firelock, Emily, and I don't actually think I know his name, but his Emily and the other guy, and they I'm hoping to kind of go over the process of what it is, because you could just clearly tell every single time they make a new line of models, it gets better and better and better. Because I'm going to honest to goodness say, if you look at the English sailors, they're kind of like, they're probably like one of the first ones they made. They're just kind of like guys, they're like guys
Mhm.
doing sailing and stuff. And then you see like the French, and they're like, wow, they have big fancy hats and stuff. They look really cool. And then you get to the Dutch, and they're like murder train hobos with knives, with their really cool top hats and all that. Probably one of the coolest model lines I've ever seen.
On the metal ones, I never saw the knives. I never, I don't know if maybe I got crap eyes, but after, and I just do a straight flat, I do my accidental zenithal method
Yeah.
where I just put them and I spray from a couple feet away because I'm using Rust-Oleum because it's cheap.
Yep.
And if there is little bits of gray under there, that's technically zenithal, right?
It's
Right?
texture. That's just
So, and I
texture.
never noticed when I started painting the new resin ones, and I got the Dutch ones for Port Royal. I was sitting there like, there are so many knives on these
Yeah, they
guys.
love knives. And the Dutch are infamous for liking to stab. They did
hmm
indeed like to do a
There's a
good
book
hobo
on
stab.
Amazon that I need to buy. Joseph actually showed me. It's about the knife martial art that the Dutch use. It's on my list to buy. I like to absorb shit. I'm a sponge for knowledge. I'm
Yeah.
like, that looks cool. And my pirate garb now has a bunch of knives on it. Like,
Gotta have one in your boot just in case they capture you. You gotta just for the escape attempt. And so, yeah, and obviously the new stuff all looks really, really good. I've painted the
Mhm.
freebooters, and I've painted the Forlorn Hope, and I've painted a couple of the new commanders. The new Morgan is incredible. Like the detail on that model is just like
Oh yeah,
stunning, and
really
it's just
sexy.
it's it's a great time to get into it, because I do agree. I think the models look great. I have been on the record saying I'm not a huge fan of the plastics because of my own personal preferences, and that they're a little finicky. Like anything
Yeah,
that involves a sheer wrist joint makes me nervous as all get out. But I understand why they exist, and I
yeah.
totally think that it's a good way for
And
people
when
to
you're
get into
like
the
me,
game.
I've built 300 sailors.
Right?
So
Yeah.
like
No.
I can do that kit with my eyes closed at this point. But I understand a real key for newer players who are watching. If that wrist joint is bothering you, get yourself a little hobby and file the wrist a little bit, and then file the
Yeah.
connection point before you put your plastic glue on. I found that really really helps.
Yeah. Texture help.
Yes.
But yeah, I do think
But
that
yeah.
you're absolutely right, and it would be a criminal offense if we did not mention the boats. I mean, when you have the boats on the table and somebody walks by, they have to look. They can't not look at it.
I was not prepared for this, so let me grab my Corbetta for you,
Oh
everybody
yeah,
out
that's right.
there.
That's
I
I
got
dude.
one.
I
Give me a
desperately
second.
wanted one. I was like, please give me the Corbata. I need it.
So here we go in
And anyone
all
not
of
in the
its
know, the
glory.
Corbata is the new kind of like, I would say, like replacement for the Corvette.
Mm. So kit bash that
I was gonna say that's really
little.
good.
Mm-hmm. And then this was I. This is what I wanted. I am a ship maniac, so I got my East India Company flag at the
Hmm.
top here that Joseph helped make for me.
Early Dutch flag because it's orange and not red.
Yep, yep. And paper sales, so
Yep.
really low effort sale. Just I wanted something on there, but this looks great on the table. All of their ships, even the humble, lowly matchstick bark. If
Hmm.
you paint it and put some good sails on it, it looks amazing. And this is what draws people in.
Yep.
You could have a whole setup and little land skirmish like I do for demos, and that's cool. But if you got the two plastic sloops or one of these or any ship on the table, people walk over and go, "What is that?"
Yeah.
There's not a lot of games that are doing true 28 millimeter ships. I think Blood and Plunder is the only one that I've seen that is doing it. That isn't like just some far obscure like we
Yeah.
made these rules 15 years ago and then published them and they went.
Yeah. Convention games, I call them, the game that you
Mm-hmm.
play once a year at the con that you go to.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Which those games should exist. I do think.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
even when Mike was on here, we talked about it. Is Blood and Plunder is luckily a historical, and in quotes you can very clearly see the word game, because it feels like a game, and
Yes.
you're not so caught up in the whole like,
It's
because
not a
technically
simulator.
speaking, correct. So like technically speaking, when you're sailing a ship, you don't want to be directly with the wind. You kind of like want to technically be at a slightly angle with it, because
Mm-hmm.
that's how the wind hits the sail and blah, blah, blah. But like in this game, you're just like, all right, are you going into the wind or not? That's like, you
Yeah.
don't have to worry about like instruments. You don't got to pull out like a sextant. You don't got to
Mm-hmm.
worry about like planning your moves like 4 turns in advance because of the way it was like, you got to spin the wheel and blah blah blah, and like what's the difference between a ship's wheel and just like the
And
like
the
a
tiller.
till.
Yeah.
It's just like whatever. So yeah, you just push all that stuff aside, and I think that is a great way to get anybody interested in history. And pirate history is lucky in that people do like it because of stuff like Pirates of the Caribbean, where you don't have to tell somebody, hey, you need to look up this specific guy's boat in 19 whatever, blah, 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 because that's what he had. Like, no, like Jack Rackham probably had, he wasn't even a pirate for very long, and he probably had like 6 different boats. It's like, who cares what it looks like? Just
Look at the
paint the
camera when
damn
I
thing.
say this. Black Sails is the best thing that ever happened to Jack Rackham. Don't at me.
They need to have a show like that for Captain Kidd, so that he's like, he doesn't just seem like a historical scumbag.
I heard that, I want to say last year, the year before, an organization was trying to get him a pardon posthumously. Posthumously? I don't know how that word's pronounced.
I think it's posthumous.
Yeah, but because apparently, and I'm not a historian. I will look in Google sources, but I have not gone forward in this, so don't quote me. Benderson Little, if I say something wrong, please hop in and correct me, and then send me a grenado because I deserve it. But it's been revealed, quote unquote, that he was kind of set up to fail by a bunch of wealthy dudes.
Very much so.
And that when he came back, and he said, hey, my crew, turned pirate on me and all of that, they wanted to make an example and save their butts. That is what I've heard. I cannot verify that, but the whole organization wanted to give Kidd a pardon, which I thought was really funny.
So if you listen to our Captain Kidd episode, I actually do go over the story of it. He's literally an Ash Ketchum and a what the heck, Gary. There's like a rivalry between him and like one other actual pirate that he keeps bumping into in history. He keeps like getting one up on him, which is pretty.
Smell you later,
essentially. And then he steals his crew, and then he's just like, see you later, nerd, and he just leaves because they were all from New York. Anyway, so that rich cabal of people that wanted to take him down.
Here.
That rich cabal of people included this little known figure called the King of England, who was going to get accused of treason because of the way it worked with mingled with the Indian, not the Raj, but the Mughal Empire. So thing with the Mughal Empire, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, listen to that episode. Me and David go over it pretty well. It's a pretty funny story.
I will.
David, not David. David might do it too. I don't know. I can't say for certain. But Captain Kidd kills somebody with a bucket.
Yeah,
it's pretty great. Mr. Moore. That's a great little thing. But anyway, that aside, I do think that the historical aspects of it make it interesting for people who are interested in history without necessarily dragging them through the brambles of you have to know how to actually sail a boat. Because I've learned a lot of stuff, like sometimes I mix up my bow and stern, but nobody gets mad at me. But I do know port and starboard. I do know that one by heart, so that's good.
I actually have a whole spiel when I demo where I'm like, all right, because I usually just put out English and the Spanish, but if I'm feeling really spicy and I know I got a bunch of people coming, I'll do Spanish, French, English, and Dutch, and then I'll just say, all right, here's Spain. They are basically, in Spain's terms, this is all their land. Everybody else is trespassing. If you're here, you're not allowed. Get the hell out. The French are here because Spain is here, and they hate Spain. They are really good at shooting, and they're really good in melee. Here's the English. They're also here because Spain's here, and they want their money. So they're here. They got good resolve because this is their home. They're actually living here at this point. So they want to fight for home and hearth. Then you have the Dutch. The Dutch want to steal everybody's shit and sell it back to them at three times the price with a smile on their face and skipping their step. And everyone's like, you really know, I played this so long. That's basically how all of this works.
And
there are no good guys in this game. Get over that hump.
Well, maybe the natives. The natives might be the good guys.
I would arguably the natives. An argument can be made for
Maroons. I think Maroons probably could say it.
Yeah, but for the most part, if you're playing the European faction, get over that hump. You're good. Go steal some stuff.
Good, go for it. It's okay. It's good to play in the gray. The gray is where the interesting part of humanity is. And so, so that's a great way to jump into this next one. So let's just say, hypothetically, you move to somewhere, whatever, like Mississippi, right? Somewhere that's far away.
God.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to insult you like that. And you move to some other place, Oklahoma. There you go. Let's go Oklahoma. You go there and you're like, okay, I'm going to start a new community. There's a local store that's like within 30 minutes of you or whatever. What are the steps that you would take in order to start a Blood and Plunder?
Step 1, community? Acquire minis. Step 2,
good first step.
Paint the minis. Make sure they are painted. That is your bare minimum. Next step, go to the store, meet with the store owner. Every time I've gone to a store, I meet with the owner or the staff, just kind of whoever's in charge, and say, "Hey, my name's Dan. This is why I'm here. I'm going to be here basically every Thursday. If you'd like to, go ahead and add me to your schedule, and just put my name out there so I can get stuff in." That is the first step: is make a contact, make a friend, and let them know that you're here to basically play games, what you're going to do. Because if you talk to them and someone comes and say, "Hey, I'm looking for this game," they can say, "Hey, Dan is here on Thursdays. Why don't you go talk to him?" I'm currently at Evolution Games in Fort Worth. I'm on their Discord. I should have been more active, but like I said, I just got married, so like the
Sure.
last couple of months I've been out of contact. Not really, but I check it, but like haven't been coordinating because again, married. So, but other than that, just do that, make a friend, and two, support the store. So whenever
Yeah.
I am there, I always buy a drink. I know it's like people go, "Oh, it's only $1." It helps them. They probably get it for cheaper and mark it up, then make money while you're there. That's good. Always support your store, whether you're buying a snack, a drink. If I need a paint that I don't want to buy it on Amazon, I'll buy it there. And need a voice, support that store. Show that you are there in good faith to support that store and get butts and seats.
Yep. I will say, being in this hobby as long as I have sources where I can buy models at ridiculous, much cheaper than
Yeah.
MSRP. It's not hard. You go online, you can find it.
Yeah.
This is the way I've blessed, right? That I'm at a point in my life where it's like I can, like, $15 is like it's not like a thing. It's not like a make or breaker to me. So the way I see it is like, do I want to give this, let's just say a $30 model? Do I want to give the $30 to the store that got it at their rate? They're only going to make probably like $10 off of this thing or whatever based off of shipping and blah, blah. Does me buying it for 15% less to save, like, let's just say, in this case, it would be like $4.
Yeah.
Does it really matter? Just give the money to your store. Like,
Mhm.
goddamn. And so my general rule of thumb is, like, if you're at the store and there's something you even kind of remotely want, even if you just buy them one at a time, like, I'd rather go in and buy one small thing every time I come in than buy one huge thing every like month or two or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And I just feel like that constant drip looks better to them because they're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
every time I like this crowd. They come in and they buy this thing or whatever, blah blah blah.
Yeah, and all of us, we always make sure while we're there, if we're thirsty, we buy a drink.
Yeah,
Martin always buys
yeah,
drink and a snack. That's our big thing. Whenever people start playing with us, say, "Hey, while you're here, if you're thirsty, don't go to whatever across
yeah.
the street.
Right.
Please just go buy a drink, support the store." That is just, what we do to make sure that the store knows we're doing good, and then they're kind enough to host us for not charge for tables or time or
Yeah.
anything, so
Right.
we can support them by buying drinks and snacks.
The way I see it, 15% on a mattress is significantly more than 15% off of a $30 model. Just give
Yeah.
the people the money for the love
Mhm.
of God. So anyway, that's a great start. So obviously, I agree. I think painting it that's one of the more difficult parts. Even if it's not a
Yeah.
good paint job,
Yeah,
make a
no.
demo set. Just
Mm-hmm.
just put paint on it. It's not hard. Spend time on the boat. The boat's where you should spend your time to kind of add like maybe a little bit of Ric Flair, right? Woo. And so
Yeah.
that's where you do that.
Woo!
Woo! But then when you do like the sailors, it's like, all right, just contrast them, get them done. Go back and paint them more fancy later, or paint your own set. Like,
Speed
yeah, I
paint.
want to play Spanish. Yeah, speed paints are
Speed paint
great.
king right over here.
Love them. I love speed paints, and it's important, I think, to have the best impression you possibly can when people first walk up to the
Exactly.
table. Right? And so, yeah, and obviously the Raise the Black starter is that what it's called? Raise the Black starter.
Yeah.
The one with Blackbeard and all that. That one's
Yeah,
great just because for $250.
Maybe
I forget how much it is, but you
I
get the
haven't
two
bought a
boats and you
starter
get
set in
a lot of
so long.
sailors.
That's more than enough to basically get you started for if you're doing a demo. That is where you'll want to start. You really don't need anything else.
Oh, I'm sorry, 150. Oh God, dude,
Yeah.
that box is crazy. How much value you get
Yeah.
out of it. The two
Mhm.
boats. The two boats by themselves is 80.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Anyway, yeah, but if you ever have any interest in actually getting this game started, that's a great place to start. That box is criminally underpriced, in my opinion.
We actually have a whole article on Blood and Pigment for
We
if
do.
you're getting started with Blood and Plunder. I went in and edited a year or two ago after the plastics came out to kind of give more. So because what I do when I get into something, I want to see the cheapest way to get the most stuff. So I actually went in there and did some edits and added some of my own personal experiences because I am not a rich Dan. I might look like it's cool. I am not a rich Dan. I'm an hourly employee, my guy. So like I still gotta have enough for money and then enough to feed me, my cat, my dog, and my wife. So
very important. Very important to keep all those things fed.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's catch up. So that's where you are. You bought your stuff, you built it, you painted it. You're there every Thursday or whatever day it is you pick. Somebody walks up and they're like, "Hey, the store owner said that you play this game about boats. I really like boats. What do you do?"
So I'm going to dial back 2% real quick. Make sure you can, if you really want to build a community, you need to set time aside. So I'm in a position where I could determine what schedule I wanted to work. So I am at my game store just about every Thursday. And I'm on the schedule and I say, hey, this is when I'm going to be here. If you want to play, any Thursday. And yes, when you're starting out, there may be times where you spend 4 hours. I do a 4-hour minimum because I'm a quartermaster. We'll get into that because that's a whole program for people who want to demo and grow the community through Firelock. But there will be days where you're going to be 4 hours at a game store and nobody plays. That happens when you're first starting out. I spent more than enough time sitting there for 4 hours on a day off, hoping somebody would come up and ask me and play, and nothing. So that will happen. Get over it. Once you get over that hump, all you need is a couple people, and they'll bring their friends. It'll pull in. But yeah, from there, every Thursday, someone walks up and says, "Hey, I really like Pirates. What is this game about?" I have a whole little pitch that I'm not going to say committed to memory. It just comes straight from brain to mouth with no filter. But let me wet my whistle real quick.
He's very excited. He's just spitting all over the place.
Yeah. But I usually say this is a 28mm skirmish war game. What that means is it's little 28mm scale models, and this is a low model count game. This is going to be played roughly between 20, maybe 40, maybe 50 models, anywhere in between depending on the point size game. This is really easy to get into. What this is it's a historical, and usually when I say historical, the eyes glaze over and I have to go, no, come back, come on. Come on, come get the snacky. It's very it's easy to learn, difficult to master. And yeah, exactly. And then I say, would you like me to run you through a demo real quick? And usually at that point they say yes. So at that point, I usually run land demos. But sometimes I'll go full blow and do sea demos because I feel if I'm teaching the game, I figure land is a good place to start because then sea is easier and so on. But it depends what kind of mood I'm in, to be perfectly honest. Usually I'll say, hey, if they're in the store, say, hey, run you through a demo, or someone messages me, I'll say, all right, what do you want to do, land or sea? And they'll say, oh, I want to do sea. I say, okay, now I'm just going to ask you, what nation do you want to play? I'm not going to make you commit to a faction. You want to play Pirates? You want to play Spain? And if they say, I want to play French, I will make sure I bring them a French list because I'm already going to give them everything they need to see how that plays. And then from there, you run the demo. Good demoing tip, don't beat the shit out of the new guy.
But, yeah, that's a good rule for a lot of things.
Explain what you were doing. I got a little bit of heat because I posted a meme, I'm sure you saw, where I was saying I was explaining to a new player. I said, okay, I'm going to turn here. If you don't turn, I'm going to rake you. And this guy looks at me and says, it's okay, I'm going first anyway. And I say, okay. We play cards. He played a heart, I played a spade. And I said, all right, I'm going to explain how raking works.
This is what we call a learning opportunity.
Yes. But explain how it all works, explain kind of your movements, and be sure to roll. And you know what? If you win because your dice were hot, oh well. But I intentionally, if I want to demonstrate combat, I will run a unit in the open into somebody and hope I make that charge just to demonstrate. And if he shoots me up, he gets to say, ha ha, I shot him up. That's cool. Like it's not hard.
A demo is not. A demo is definitely not when the tactical acumen needs to come out.
Yeah,
that's when you just play to play.
You don't need to do the Tyler Stone duck and weave, bob and
weave, right.
backwards flipping lance throw attack.
So this is what a stink pot does, and I got you in there, and you can't defensive fire, and I'm going to murder you with these interplogue.
Love your Tyler Stone, by the way. I love that you called your list of Adepticon mathematical excellence. I love it.
And Tyler Stone is the writer for Dead Man's Hand. Yeah, Dead Man's Chest. That's right. Yeah. And does he have an actual podcast, or it's just a blog?
He does not. I've been poking him. I'm going to say this again into the camera. I've been telling you for months, I am game to record. You just let me know, baby, and I will be there. We're really good friends, so I can talk to him like that.
Hey, that's good. That's a good thing to know.
Yeah, my first 2 Adepticons, I roomed with him.
Okay, so you guys know each other, like, I don't want to say biblically, but, pretty, really, really close roommates kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. History will look back and say, yeah, they were just roommates.
Really good roommates. All right, so there you go. That for the most part, I think, goes over how to do it. I mean, honestly, the consistency part's the hardest.
Mm-hmm.
It's even like obviously not everybody's moving to a place and then they're all of a sudden let me play Blood and Plunder. And so you go to these places that you already go to. You might even be surprised at how willing they are to pick it up because there's a lot of games out there that exist that people are always like tentatively interested in. but
A
they're
lot of older miniature war gamers I found, especially like past 40, and this is not a joke, like in my opinion,
yeah, no, no,
they will pick up so many games. They have so many games that they haven't.
hmm
And if someone shows up, plays twice, and leaves, and they bought their stuff from Firelock, I've done my
great,
job.
yeah,
They made
exactly,
Firelock some money, which means we get cool stuff. And if they, squirrel into another game, they still have their Blood and Plunder stuff, and they will always be welcome back. That is the main thing. Also, don't be afraid to loan out minis. Just make sure you have minis you don't care about.
yeah, for sure,
Because some people, this is trying economic times, I'm sure. A lot of people, if they don't have enough disposable income or they haven't been in a position to snatch up on that, just say, hey, we always say between me, Martin, my brother, and a couple of us, we always have minis. If you want to come and play for a couple of months and just use minis, that is fine. The
yeah,
only time we'll start encouraging is when you've been here, 4 or 5 months, we're going to go,
yeah,
hey, you need some minis. And I'm always the one to tell them, here's the sales, here's where you can get them.
yeah,
Before you buy anything, let me know, and I will show you what you need to get in so you get the most bang for your buck.
yeah. I will say a lot of people locally. I'm the only person that's ever rigged a boat here. Like for the game.
I mean, I haven't either, but that's just for ease of use and measuring. They look
Sure.
really cool, but trying to get a tape measure and getting my fat sausage fingers into I've knocked over so many minis, and you're trying to fiddle. It's like if you're in a horror movie, instead of a light switch, you got the little tile turn, and it's coming down the hall. You're like, no, I'm trying to turn the thing. It's coming down. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, and I will say I have put a lot of effort into all my boats. I'll put magnets on the bottom of them so that the cannons are in the right spots and they don't move around. So like you can really get into it. Like you get
Yeah,
into the weeds.
I encourage that. If you love hobbying, go balls to the
You
wall
could
and
go
hobby
nuts
the
on the
shit
boats.
out of it.
Yeah, you could go crazy on the boats. And I like obviously when you have I don't actually know the technical term of them, but the actual rigging where it's like the ropes that go up, where you can like climb them.
Yeah.
You don't need to put the cross stitch on them. That might be a little too far. Just put them going up and down,
But if
But
you want to, baby girl, you go right
that's the
ahead.
cool
We
thing
will
about the
all
boat.
geek out about it.
You can do that. You can do that. You can stop. You can put no sails on it, and it'll look fine. You can put sails on it. I think they look like I think the jump of quality from no sail to sail is like staggering. I think it just looks so much better. But there's nothing wrong with not having the sails.
Also, you can rig it and put how many sails you want on it, however you want. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter. I have a light frigate that I rigged into a Mediterranean Palacra rig
right.
where it's got the giant ass lateen sail in the front. And I had to do that all custom because I have so many dowels and bits and pieces just from all the stuff that I bought.
And so
I just,
and I think that sometimes people are, I don't want to say WYSIWYG, but you get people who see these kits and they're like, it has to be built this way because I've been trained from like, let's just say a
yeah.
40K game or whatever, GW. And the cool thing is like the definition of a sloop is a very loose term. A sloop is not something that looks like this. A sloop is just a boat of a certain tonnage with a single mast. A brig is a boat of a certain tonnage with two masts. What is on those masts was completely different based on boat to boat. There was no like construction plan that these people were using.
I'm actually in the process of building and converting a brig into a brig sloop for Blood and Bayonets.
Right, exactly. So like you could do these things, and so like if you see a certain one of the sails that I think is just I don't know why I just look at them and I think they're kind of ridiculous is the gaff sail, the little tiny, or I'm sorry, not the gaff, the lantine, the little triangle sail that they put in the back. I'm like, I don't really like that. What if I just put another square mast in there? There's no good or bad on that. You just do it, and it's like it still technically works.
Yep.
Because that's what they might have just done that.
Yeah, go ham.
Some of the ship, you look at your ships are ridiculous.
This is the first ship where I hit everything. Oh no, the mast! I hit the ship with the dark brown primer that I use. Then I went into all the little connecty bits and painted those black.
Yep.
And it makes it look so much cooler.
And that's just a good. And even when you look at history, masts were covered in like a pitch in order to make them more sturdy for against the wind and all that stuff. So like technically speaking, like that would be a certain color. There's a lot of stuff you can learn. And again, if you just want to contrast it brown, put your models on it and be done, great. If you want to do all the fancy stuff for it, there's nobody that's going to stop you. And I think it's weird because it's like that regiment thing we were talking about earlier, where it's not a permissiveness, it's not a restrictiveness, it is a willingness to go further because it makes it look cooler. But nobody can be like, yeah, that boat's not painted right.
My latest project was I've been painting Blood and Plunder sailors just to have different types of sailors. I've been painting them like the art in the book.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to do that, paint them however the hell you want.
Exactly. and I think that is one of the biggest advantage of this era, especially because there's just really not a lot of regulations, especially when it's like a privateer ship or it's like a private vessel. Like the captain can do whatever he wants.
Even in the Navy, they were given stuff, but like
They sold it for food.
Some guys might have that shirt. Some guys might have sold that off for some extra hardtack. Sometimes it's just some people, especially the newer guys, I guess, will be going shirtless in the Caribbean sun. You're like, oh, you don't want to do that. You don't have the complexion for that. You can be lobster. But
And
yeah.
it's like the French are a good example with the French Marines, where they even tell you in the description, it's like, this isn't really their uniform. They actually sell it or tear it apart to re-sew it into something that's more comfortable for like the
Yeah.
Canadian weather
Mhm.
and all that stuff. And it's cool. And I think that, and again, I love Firelock, support Firelock fully, but that also does open up to a lot of like alternative sculpts where you can do stuff,
Mhm.
where you're like, yeah, I really like this particular aspect of history. And it comes down to like a lot of other war games where,
Yeah.
at least in history, where you're like, I really like this regiment's particular uniform. Napoleonics was a good example of that. And obviously Napoleonics in the Caribbean age are pretty dang close. So there's a lot of like a little bit of overlap there. So anyway, I just think it's interesting where there's the hobbying in this is so open ended, and it's crazy what you can do. And I'm just
Mhm.
gonna leave it at that. So yeah, any closing thoughts on this? I feel like we ran over it with a
I
truck.
think we did good. If I may, I am going to plug, as I did mention, expansion. I have written, and it is on Mike's desk. They're just busy at the moment. I have written a Great Northern War expansion for Blood and Plunder. So what that would cover is Denmark, Sweden, Russia. Go
Yeah,
figure.
Russia. Yeah, I don't know.
The Poles are in there, so Saxony and Poland at this point were kind of one kingdom, or I
Yep.
think Saxony owned Poland, so they are in there. Cossacks are in there,
Mm-hmm.
and it is both land and sea. So a lot of new units, a ton of new units that I have designed from the ground up. This was basically a solo project. It was me. I've roped some other guys. Tyler Stone helped me develop it for some scenarios, but I had to run it through the filter with Liam and Joe and all that. So it is there. I had a playtesting group about a year or two ago where we tested the bejesus out of it. So this is the first time I've mentioned it outside of Blood and Pigment. So like
There you
into
go.
someone else's podcast. So yeah, you're the first head pat. So that kind of shows how adaptable these rules are. So if you're into home brewing,
Mm-hmm.
I would wait until later on, learn the game. But if you want to homebrew an era, you can also do that, which is why I love this game. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm just waiting for Mike's really busy. He told me to
Sure.
remind him every week. So every week I send a message and say, hey, Great Northern War reminder, go take a look. But just waiting to see if it's within their scope of the Caribbean. If not, if they don't officially adopt it, I will have it on the Blood and Pigment website for sure. I'm
Yeah.
hoping it gets adopted because I poured my heart and soul into it. But it's really cool, and I hope that everybody gets to see it soon because I poured a lot of love, a lot of books. My bibliography was very long, and I had to translate a lot of documents.
I will say this game and Blood and Bayonets, which is the Napoleonic, I want to say like version of Blood and Plunder. It's not really like the right way to put it, but I have had more people interested in the Russian part of it than I've ever seen for any other game. Like World War II, people are like, yeah, I want to play, like Germany, or I want to play America, or I want to play, whatever. Russians are kind of something that comes up every once in a while. For some reason, this game, every time I've pitched Blood and Bayonets to somebody, the first question out of their mouth is, "Can I play Russia?" And I'm like, of all the time periods, this is not the point where Russia is like great. I mean, because like Peter the Great, because you figure the guy in charge of
So about that,
Nicholas the Second, I think is the
Rufus may have wanted me to pre-write some of the stuff for the eventual Russian
yeah.
expansion, and I may have sent him a document in 24 hours with him going, "What the hell? It's not even released yet." And I was like, "Sir, you underestimated the Tism. You gave me a job, and I bought a book on Amazon that gave me all 650 Russian officers that served the Napoleonic Wars, so I could find you characters. There's your document. Let me know what you think."
And Blood and
So they are
Bayonets,
coming at some point. I
yeah,
know they're
yeah.
coming at some point.
And I think Rufus has even been he's openly admitted that I think
Yeah,
Russia is going to be the first expansion because
yeah.
people are
Because
dying
that's the
for it.
big thing that when a lot of people think Napoleonic Wars, I think a lot
Yep.
of that is that because it's the big bad Napoleon going, and there's more context that I don't have an hour to get into because that is also something I've researched thoroughly and read a lot of books on. But it is also one of my favorite times because it's just Napoleon going, "Come fight me," and the Russians going,
No,
"Nah, we're good."
no, no.
It's a carrot on the stick. Come on, come get the baguette. Come on, come get it.
I still
Come get
think
it.
Russia, I don't know. I think Napoleon should have obviously stopped in like the Krakow area and just like logistically consolidated before he kept
Mm-hmm.
going. That's the whole
You
thing.
also remember that wasn't the Napoleon that conquered half of Europe at that point in
That's
time. That
true.
was a completely different man mentally at that point. But
He's
yeah,
an
no,
old
Peter.
man.
On Peter the Great, though, yes, Peter the Great is one of my favorite
Yeah.
characters in all of. If I could go back in history, I would love to have dinner with Peter the Great, because this was a man who was not only clearly, I don't want to say big A autistic, little A autistic, because the guy, coming from someone who is actually autistic, the guy didn't just want to say, I want a navy. He wanted to learn how the ships worked. He
Mm-hmm.
studied his ass off, and it brought dentistry, sailing. He brought so much European influence back into Russia, and a lot of it was him telling his nobles, here, I will teach you how to do this, and then you go teach your people. And if they wouldn't do it, he would say, oh, Mr. Dutchman who builds ships, how about I pay you and give you a house, come live in St. Petersburg and help me build ships and teach me. And that's all he did. And he's so fascinating, because Russia's first navy, most of those ships were hand built with the Tsar's help. And I cannot find anywhere else in history where a leader rolled up their sleeves and said, all right, we're going to bang this out, showing everybody how to do it. Again, on the other side of the coin, he was a despot, and a lot of people died building St.
Mm-hmm.
Petersburg and died for all kinds of things.
I
So
will.
just so I can be fair.
I think that
But
he's a
it's
good.
so cool.
He's
He's
a
so
great.
cool.
He's a great example of a boss and a leader, right? It's like the
Mm-hmm.
difference between a boss and a leader. Because like a leader will do that kind of stuff.
His staff had to keep him from, because he wanted to fight from the front, and they kept saying no, because if you die, this all falls apart. So he would go and help with the artillery. A lot of the guns during some battles, he was there helping, aiming, loading, and doing that, while the staff are going, dude, you are too close. If you die, this all falls apart. And he goes, no, stu complete out, tu cannon.
That's incredible. That's the kind of stuff I love to see. Peter
Love
the Great,
that.
yeah, absolutely phenomenal leader. And then
He's also in there.
I love that.
I put it.
Is an upgrade for an
First.
artillery?
It would be the first time that the actual kings of the nations were in, because all of them served on the battlefield at this point. Charles the 12th and Peter more so, because they
Mhm.
were, again, warrior kings,
Yeah.
but they were often there. I've heard people say, but they wouldn't be to skirmish stuff. I was like, I know, but it's also just cool to have them in there.
Yeah,
And they
for
do
sure.
have a rule where if they die, your army is gonna kind of fall apart. So don't have Peter the Great charging over from ship to ship and get him killed. Don't do that.
That's why we love historical games. That's the kind
Mm-hmm.
of shit you love to see.
Yep.
And so I'm beyond excited for that. But we actually have a legitimate Russian who plays games with us at our local store, and he's a huge fan of Russian hussars. And I keep telling him, I was like, listen, man, if there's ever a Russian expansion for Blood and Plunder, you better be playing. And I don't know. I feel like he's kind of
Send
tentative.
him my information. I have a document for him to play test. I worked
Uh,
very hard to make sure that I did not make, because I don't want to take too much time, but when people are army building, especially from a dev standpoint, my
mm,
first gut was, I'm going to make Russia a horde army. I want to make them, a
yep,
bunch of dudes.
very
But then when
common.
I went and looked at the history, yes, they had a large army, but the forces they were bringing were the same size as other people's armies. So I said, okay, now I have to scale that back and figure out. So my idea was, okay, I'll just make them stubborn. So they got their 6-point soldiers, like the Spanish are, because they're kind of at the same point where Spain's on their way out, Russia's
Hmm.
coming up, they meet in the hallway. So their thing is they will stand out in the field and get shot at and not care. They don't care. That's just how they were. The common thing through all of Russian history is, yes, it sucks to be in the Russian army at any point in time, because you were taken from your home, 25 years of service, go stand out in the battlefield and get shot at. But they would just sit there.
That's because that's the express ticket to being taken out of the Russian misery.
Yeah.
Just like, all right, fine. Yeah, I
So
guess
I
it's
gave him
maybe.
so I gave him rules that says, okay, how you want to combat them is you want to charge them when they're not in cover. But otherwise, if you want to trade shots, yeah, you'll probably kill more of them, but they're not going to run away. They don't give a damn. It's just another Tuesday.
Poor, poor Russians. Anyway, so yeah, look forward to that. Yes, I don't know what else to say about that. That's just
No,
exciting.
that's
I
good.
love that.
You're the first person I've told outside an official capacity, outside of Blood and Pigment. So
So
there you go. Hopefully, a lot of people see it, and I get a lot of interest.
You got a lot, but hey, you got one person interested, and
Mm-hmm.
he's right here with
Yes, the Polish winged hussars are in there as well.
you. Woohoo! Yay, winged
They are silly.
hussars! And then the winged hussars arrived. All right, so Dan, I think we did it. I think we talked about starting a community and also really cool Russian expansions for other games that we play.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's pretty exciting. Is there anything you would like to say to the people before we wrap this up?
Obviously, I'm from Blood and Pigment. Go check out our YouTube channel and check out our blog. We have articles on there for ships, factions, reviews. If there's anything Blood and Plunder, it is on there. Also, go ahead and watch the rest of this guy's stuff as well. I've been listening to his podcast. It's great, fantastic. I know you're all probably already here, but if God forbid you're here because you saw my name or Blood Pigment was on there, go listen to the rest of it too, for love of God, please. Should we like to show? I don't want to say small content creators, but other people who are making content. We support, we scratch each other's backs. Go out and do it. From
It only snowballs it.
Yeah. And then from there, go check out our YouTube channel as well. It's not quite as heavily built as our blog is because editing and all that does take time.
Yeah, it's work.
But go check all that out. And also feel free to join. On top of, make sure you throw money at these guys. Also, if you can, our Patreon as well. It also really helps us make content, and it gets us the more stuff we have coming in for Patreon, gives us more opportunities to go out and host cons and do stuff. It does stuff like that. We're not so oh, look at all this, we have all this. No, we either, it goes, any money we make goes right back into the blog and right back out to community outreach.
Yeah, if we were doing this for profit, I would say there's probably some better options than Patreon on a podcast about a niche game. It's probably a lot better options out there.
Also, if you play Blood and Valor, check out Dead Man's Chest with Tyler Stone as well.
Yep.
I love that game as well, and I wrote a couple of articles for that. Go check it out.
We'll talk about Blood and Valor on this pod at some point.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in doing a Lawrence of Arabia themed army for that game, just because it's a part of history I don't really know a ton about, and I just always found it very interesting.
I'll reach out to Tyler Stone. If you can't make it work, reach out to me, because I also have a lot of Valor experience as well. I love that game. I love that game so much.
It was mostly...
That's our blood and breather after Summer of Plunder.
Summer
When
of
we're
Plunder,
burnt
yeah.
out, when we're burnt out, we go, all right, we'll do Blood and Valor, because it's much more beer and pretzels in my opinion, but it's a lot of fun.
I was going to get Blood and Valor, and then Blood and Bayonets was coming out. This was right around when the Kickstarter was coming out. I was like, ooh, I can only get into one of these right now, and I'll do both at some point.
I hear both.
Both? No, there's no doubt there's going to be both. My paint desk is flooded, sir. It's impossible to keep up. So it's going to happen eventually. It's just a matter of when. And then now all of a sudden, all the locals are like, we should play Oak and Iron. I'm like, where the hell are you coming from? What is this? What? Tiny boat game? All right, I'm in, I guess. Sure. Anyway, so Mr. Dan here was saying, obviously we survive on people like you. So please, if you can, give us some 5-star reviews. Definitely go check out Blood and Pigment. It was a major source of information that I used in order to start playing this game when I was just getting started. The boat reviews by themselves are worth their weight in just the most finely stolen Indian gold and silver. So
I also overhauled all of those recently.
They are getting overhauled, yes.
More readable.
Even better.
They're done. I did all of them.
Oh, you did finish them? Did they upload them all already?
Yeah, they all should be. Yeah, I just went and updated all of them. They all should be updated in a more readable, more readable format, where if you're a stat guy, you can go find stats. If you want the rest of it, it's all there. Jason created the template. I just went and filled everything in.
Yeah.
So
those are really good. And the army faction reviews, I find those also incredibly helpful. So they're great. And I know that some of those might get revamped with some of the stuff coming up in blah,
because squibbles are no longer the big thing they were, but we'll get there. It's only a couple of us, and it's a lot of information.
Yeah, no doubt. And so even me with Blood and Pigment, their blog, my pictures have been going on there because of all the stuff we've been doing with the Kickstarter. So my stuff's going on there. I used to write a lot of blog articles for my own blog and for PCN.
Uh-oh. Oh, boy.
Uh-oh. Okay, my internet
That's going to be an editing point.
Yep, right there.
That's what we say when we record. Editing point.
I was going to say, that's Buck07. Let me write that down. Of course, I don't have my pen. Anyway, yeah, so Buck07. Anyway, so...
I got you.
Anyway, wherever I was. So, guys, thank you very much for listening to this. 5-star review is really, really helpful. We were talking about the blog. Yeah, and I think that I used to write a bunch of blog articles and all that stuff. So I assume at some point I'm probably going to get suckered into doing one. I'll probably do a lot of the English stuff because I'm an
If you're interested, just shoot. Joe is the one who you'll filter through. That's primarily, he's the baby. He's the creator of it all. So if you say, hey, I want to write an article, he will probably have you write one, look through it, and go through from there. My brother is actually writing one for the Portuguese. So
yeah, that's right. Actually, last time I was talking to him, he did mention that.
Yep.
I probably talk to Joe more than my parents these days. So, it's interesting that he hasn't already asked me, but whatever, it's fine. 5-star reviews and stuff like that, really, really helpful for us. Make sure you go check out all the stuff Blood and Pigment does. We do Blood and Plunder reports on our YouTube channel. The last one came out and the size of the video was really weird. I got to figure out why I did that. But let me just tell you, when you're editing these things, it's just crazy, the weird errors that happen just randomly. You're like, what the hell is this? But anyway, so thank you for listening to this and all that. Really appreciate you being here. give us those reviews if you can. You can email me at furypainting@gmail.com, or you can message me on Discord at dr.d. That's Dr. D, which is spelled dr.d. And if you have any ideas for shows or things you want us to talk about, or how much you think I'm a silly Billy, that's where you're going to reach
Or if you
me.
want to see my beautiful face again.
Or if you want to see Dan's amazing, incredible beard again. If you want to heckle him. So, Dan, if people want to heckle you about how you got a corbata and I didn't, where could they find you?
There is a long pier in Texas that you can hop the hell right. No,
Oh my
my handle
God.
on Discord is the Dandalorian. You look me up there. That's where it'll be. Feel free to shoot me any messages, anything like that. I was lucky to get a Corbetta. I begged and begged and begged and begged and begged, and I got one. That's how. Secret backstory. But yeah. Otherwise, if you want to call me out on Blood and Pigment, just I have access to all the stuff. Go ahead and just tag me. Facebook. I mainly do Facebook Messenger and Discord nowadays.
Yeah.
I have a small TikTok that I did stuff on, but it's kind of gone. But
It's
yeah.
just another thing. It's just
Yeah,
another
it's just
thing
another
you got to
thing.
track. You know.
I ate like a stalker from the Stalker game series for a week and videoed and tracked my meals on TikTok. It got 20,000 freaking views, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!"
That sounds
But yeah,
awful.
it was great. It
That
was
sounds
great. I'll send it to you. It
awful.
was great.
God. Hopefully, you didn't get irradiated by a weird artifact that.
Nope. And I met all my nutritional needs for the day.
Oh, that's good.
It was not just. I'll tell you more after we're done recording. This is going to get way out into the weeds.
Yeah, we're going off into the weeds.
But yeah, no. But yeah, find me, heckle me on there.
And of course, we like to thank all the people in the background, Kara for doing the editing and Tim for running the network. We always appreciate you guys coming on here or not coming on here, but helping us out.
Thank you, Kara and Tim.
Kara, Kara gets lots of kisses for helping and all that stuff. That's her payment, And so, thank you for listening, Buccaneers. Make sure you always follow the glint of gold and keep the wind at your back. Yar har.
That's my.